We are very disturbed this evening to report the apparent murder-suicide of a wife and her 2 children supposedly by their husband and father. The 42-year-old man seemingly shot his pregnant spouse once in the stomach before taking his own life. Neither of the children suffered from gunshot wounds, but were severely beaten, both found with fractured skulls and several broken bones. Stay tuned for further details as police are still investigating the area and attempting to find a motive for this horrific event. We apologize for the abrupt interruption and currently have a caller waiting that wishes to speak on this gruesome incident. The crime was first reported by a neighbor, who said she was walking her dog when she heard 2 gunshots from the interior of the home. The crime was first reported by a neighbor, who said she was walking her dog when she heard 2 gunshots from the interior of the home. After calling the police, she then went to investigate the commotion and discovered the bodies after receiving no answer at the door. I simply cannot imagine the weight she must feel after discovering such a horrific event so close to her home. After calling the police, she then went to investigate the commotion and discovered the bodies after receiving no answer at the door. I simply cannot imagine the weight she must feel after discovering such a horrific event so close to her home. She described the scene in gross detail, stating that the family bathroom had so much blood on its walls and floor that the drain had been clogged. One of the bodies present in the bathroom was the family's 11-year-old daughter, who was the third and final victim to be identified as dead at the scene. we've got many more callers and details yet to come on this thrilling story. The father was said to be a heavy drinker by friends and family, and would often cause commotion late at night once returning home. He worked as a construction foreman and would frequently visit the local bar with coworkers once their shifts were over. He kept his signature hunting rifle in a locked cabinet at the end of the hallway, the same place that he stored his alcohol. No one was allowed near the cabinet and would be severely punished if found tampering with it. The only safe place to be once the father started drinking was anywhere hidden in the dark. The children told stories to their grandparents about entire nights spent in the closet or under their beds attempting to avoid any harm. The grandparents said they were fearful of the wife and children's futures after so many episodes of domestic abuse. They described one incident in particular in which the mother suffered from a traumatic head injury that sent her to the hospital. father vowed never to drink again after the mother's hospitalization, but was reportedly seen at his regular bar only days later. That door won't hold for long. On the day of the crime, the father checked out both of his children early from school around noon. Those in the main office at the time described him as eerily anxious as the three quickly rushed out of the building. On the day of the crime, the father checked out both of his children early from school around noon. Those in the main office at the time described him as eerily anxious as the three quickly rushed out of the building. On the day of the crime, the father checked out both of his children early from school around noon. Those in the main office at the time described him as eerily anxious as the three quickly rushed out of the building. When called to the front office, both of the children's moods quickly shifted to that of pure dread. Their teachers asked them to gather their books, among other belongings, which they did at the
slowest fucking pace possible,
interrupting the small school of typically only 9 students per classroom. When called to the front office, both of the children's moods quickly shifted to that of pure dread. Their teachers asked them to gather their books, among other belongings, which they did at the
slowest fucking pace possible,
interrupting the small school of typically only 9 students per classroom. Assigned to opposite rooms from one another, the children also differed greatly in personality. The daughter strived for greatness, her favorite subject being geography, and has always been at the top of her class. The son, on the other hand, was deservedly punished for his actions, often getting sent to time out for acting up. Assigned to opposite rooms from one another, the children also differed greatly in personality. The daughter strived for greatness, her favorite subject being geography, and has always been at the top of her class. The son, on the other hand, was deservedly punished for his actions, often getting sent to time out for acting up. Most days it seemed like the only safe space for the young man was inside his own locker. If he wasn't getting beaten at home by his
Father,
the children at school would
do it instead.
She loved her children more than anything in the world, emotions that were quickly changed after the little incident. Once returning from the hospital, she couldn't bear to look upon their faces. All she could see was her husband in their eyes. She feared these same emotions would linger once the new member of the family arrived.
Something
Had to change. all of the voices bottled inside of her were finally unleashed. No more abuse. No more
Suffering.
No more.
Family.
These children, including the one inside of her, would become just like him, and she feared for her life. They deserve a better existence. They deserve a fresh start. None of this was their fault. She finally made up her mind. Her plan for
Freedom.
Do you know what the funniest part of it all is?
It didn't work.
Such a happy family. It's quite strange how almost everyone looks normal from an outside perspective until you pull back the curtain and find a story such as this. It breaks my heart to report these things to the public day in and day out, but it's the reality of our current culture. People eat it up. They love wallowing in the misfortune of others. The mother in tonight's headlining tragedy is another victim for these leeches to feed on, further fueling the growing decay of society. I often struggle with myself, finding that I am a large portion of the problem at hand. Just like her, I am a
Goddamn parasite
that has infected your mind. No matter where you go or what you do, you can never get rid of us. It's quite ironic when you think about it all, really. The very place that festered her emotions is what currently shackles you now. Her mind had been warped, damaged by those she loved most. Once she had time alone to think and heal, the
absolute darkness
inside of her grew exponentially. She was found dead in the hallway, floating in a pool of blood once the paramedics arrived. The unborn child, still within her, was instantly killed when the bullet entered her stomach. Strangely enough, she was found with scratch marks on both of her arms as well as severe cuts on her right hand. The father dropped his children off at home before packing his bags for another impromptu hunting trip, abandoning the family for yet
another
weekend. He was found lying in the living room, dead, with his head split open from the bottom, rifle still in hand. Pieces of a shattered vase were scattered around him, with his left cheek adorned with a massive wound. The two children laid in their beds, unsure of what to do, as the mother beckoned for the daughter's help with something in the living room. The daughter was found dead in the bathroom, head smashed against the tub. The son, on the other hand, would fall victim to a fate
Much worse than death.
this shit again. I think it's about time to change the channel. I think you know what needs to be done.
Let go.
The son went to investigate the commotion in the living room. But he couldn't get there in time.